Hey everyone, this is Ben. In this video, let's see how to work with databases in Nuxt apps using Nuxt server Nitro. Alright, let's create a Nuxt app here in this folder projects. Open it and here, open a terminal and open VS Code here. And let's create a Nuxt app here. Open a new terminal. And to create a Nuxt app, run npx nuxt add latest init, and for the name, hello DB. And for package manager, I choose npm. You can choose any of these. Alright, initialize git repository, yes. Alright, project has been created. Now we need to go to its directory and run npm run dev. cd hello db and npm run dev. Alright, our app is running at this address. I copy it and go to view, command palette, and look for browser. Alright, simple browser. Paste the address here and hit enter. Alright, this is our app. A simple Nuxt app. And here we have the app.view, the main page of our app. And let me put this here and split the window and put this here. Alright, let me remove this welcome. And here I want to create some inputs and store their data in a database. Alright, here I create an input for name, placeholder name, and another for email, placeholder email, a line break, and a button add. Alright, now when I enter something in these inputs and click on add, store the data in a database. To do this, we first need to send the inputs data to a backend or an API. In Nuxt apps, there is a server folder. And to create APIs, we need to create API folder inside it. Now we can create API in this folder. I create addUser.ts. Alright. To create API, export defaults, define event handler, an async function, event, and okay. Now let's send this input data to this API and receive it here. Back to the app.view, and here create the script tag, setup, language TypeScript. First, let's create ref for these inputs. Const name input, an empty ref, and email input, and an empty ref. Next, bind them to the inputs using v-model. v-model, and put this here, name input, and v-model, email input. Next, we need a submit function. Function submit. Here to send data to the API, I use $fetch. You can use any fetching function you want. And the address, here it's suggested /API/addUser. The API address is the API file name without the .ts. /API/addUser. Next, define request options. I define method, post, and body. Body is actually what we want to post to the API. So here I create an object with name property, and for its value use this name input ref, which we previously bound to this input. Put this here and dot value and email, and for its value use email input ref dot value. Alright, done. Now we need to bind this function to the add button using add click and put this here. Now if I enter name and email here and click on the add, it will be sent to the API. Okay, let's go back to the API and receive data here. To receive the data here, create a const request body and use await, read body, and event. This variable contains what we posted to the API. First, let's console log it to see how it looks. Alright, let's check it. But first, let's bring back the terminal. And here, if I enter a name, Ben, and an email, ben@10.net, and click on add, you can see the result here. Name and email. Alright, now let's see how we can store this data in a database. First, let's take a look at the documentation. Go to the Nuxt website, Nuxt 3. Alright, get started. And from the left menu, scroll down and go to server. And here you can see documents about Nuxt server. And here says Nuxt server is Nitro and originally created for Nuxt. Alright, go to this link. This is its GitHub and this is its website. Alright, get started. And from the left menu, go to SQL or SQL database. And here says the default database connection is SQLite. And by default, data will be stored here, the data folder /db.sqlite3. And in addition to SQLite, we can also use other databases. Go to supported databases, and here we can see MySQL, PostgreSQL, Cloudflare D1 or other databases. But now I want to use SQLite. Anyway. Alright. First, we need to enable database in our app by using this config experimental database true. But this is for Nitro. And we need nuxt config. So click on nuxt and Nitro experimental database true. Copy this config and go to nuxt.config.ts. Go back to the VS Code. Alright. Let me close this and go to nuxt config. Here it is nuxt.config.ts. And after this line, add a comma and paste the config. Now the database is enabled. Next, go back to the documents. We need to install better SQLite pre-dependency. We can install it using this command. Copy it and open a new terminal. And here we are in projects. Go to hello DB directory and paste the command and hit enter. Alright, install. Okay. Go back to documents. Scroll down. Now in our API, we can use database in define event handler by using use database. We can create tables, drop tables, insert records, or fetch records and return them, or any other skill you want. But first, we need to define a database. Alright, scroll down. Here is the database configuration. Put it on Nuxt. In Nitro, we need to define database property, and within it, define databases. This is default database, and this is users database. Default and users. Each database has its own connector and options. And if you define the default database, here in use database, you don't need to define the name like this. But if you choose a name for your database, here in use database, you need to define it. Anyway, now I copy this and go back to the nuxt.config.ts, and here in Nitro, enter a comma and define database property and paste it here. But I want to change the name. I want to change it to myDB. And connector is SQLite, and here we have options. Name. If you are using SQLite, this name is actually the name of the database file. Let's see the documents. Alright. Here in SQLite, scroll down, and here in options, here we have name, database file name, and default is DB. Database file will be stored like this: CWD or current working directory, and default is directory of project / the data folder, and name default is db.skillite3 like this, data db.skillite3. And also we can define a path for the database file, and the path is related to CWD. And if you define a path, then you don't need the name option. And also if you define an absolute path to this skill file, then you don't need the CWD too. And here says CWD will be ignored if path provided an absolute path. Anyway, for now I just want to use the name option. Let's go back to the VS Code. And I want to change the name to my DB file. Alright, now our database is ready to use. Let's use it. Go to addUser.ts and let me remove this console log. And here create a const db use database. Alright, if we had the default database, this would be enough, and we wouldn't need to enter the database name. But here we need to enter the name defined for the database in the nuxt.config file. So I copy it, and within quotations, paste it. Alright. Now we can run SQL on this database using await db.sql and write your SQL within backticks. First, we need a table to store this data. So for the first skill, create table if not exists, and choose a name for your table. I choose users. Next, within parentheses, define fields. For the first field, I want ID, type integer, primary key, and auto increment. Next, a text field for name. Name, type text. And another one for email. Email and type text. Okay, after running this skill, the users table will be created. This skill will be executed only once because here we have if not exists. You can also use an existing table that you have already created. In that case, there is no need to run this command to create the table. Next, let's insert data in the table. Await db.skill within backticks, insert into the table name users, and within parentheses define fields. ID is auto increment, so we don't define it. Name and email. And values, parentheses, and here for name, use the request body. Dollar, curly braces, request body dot name. And for email, request body dot email. Alright. And finally assign it to a variable. Const result. And console log it. Console log result. Alright, it's ready. But before that, let me bring the file explorer. And if you look at here, after running the first skill, the .data folder and the database file will be created right here. And also let me bring the terminal to see logs. And go to this terminal. Alright. Here I enter a name and an email. And click on add. As you can see, the data folder is created here. And here is the database file. And here is the results. Alright. And if I try to open the database file, I can't because it's binary. And to see it, we need an extension. Let me close this. Go to extensions and look for SQLite 3. Alright, choose one of these. I choose this. Install. Alright. And let me close the file and open it again. Alright, here we can see our database records. ID, name, and email. Let's insert another record. Alright, number 2. And we can also open database file with any database tools. For example, here I have DB browser for SQLite. Let's open it. Desktop, projects, LODB, the data folder, and here is the database file. The users table, ID, name, and email, and browse table. You can see records here. Anyway. Alright. Now I want to display these records here in my app. To do that, we need to create another API. Go to Server API, and here, create another API, listUsers.ts. And here, just like the previous API we created, export default, define event handler, an async function, event, and OK. Create a const db, use database, enter the database name here, my db. All right. And here, create a const users await db.sql, and within backticks, run this SQL query to fetch all records. Select star or everything from users and return users dot rows. All right, it's ready. Let's check it. We can check it here. API slash the API file name without the .ts, list users, and hit enter. You can see records here, but it's JSON. Let's display it in our app. Let's back to our app, and I want to display it here. Go back to the app.view, and here, create another ref, const users ref, but here we need an array ref because we have array of records. Next, users.value await $fetch, and use API list users. All right, now we can display it in template. Here, after the add button, use list item and v-4 user and users. And here display fields, user dot name. And this is because we need to define type for users ref. Here, users, I define any. All right. And here you can see the names. And I add a comma and display another field, user.email. All right. And if I add another record, add, it's added. But here we need to refresh the page to see the result. To fix it, we need to fetch users again after submit. So I duplicate this fetch here after this fetch. But this is a very simple way. You can do it more professional. After this fetch, that then, and a function, and copy this and paste it here. And this is because to run this await, we need to async this function. All right. Now if I enter the record, all right. And you can also run more SQL queries such as update, delete, or any other SQL query you want. And the link to the source code of this project is in the caption.